sanctity of religion and its importance in the life of this country and of the people here. And obviously it's served us well because we have, I guess, 360,000 churches, mosques, synagogues in this country, and we're 1,500 different sects and groups that are distinct here. I think there's 75 different varieties of Baptist alone here, and a large majority of people, I don't know, somewhere around 90% said they believe in some supreme being. So that being the case, it looks like that's served us well, and we ought not to be tampering with it, although there are a lot of people that think that they want to tear down that wall of separation between church and state. So that's a large part of our work as well. Okay, well, getting back to your long history with the ACLU and your arrival in New Orleans for the Louisiana group 13 years ago, when you came here, did you step into a large, fully operational organization, or what was it like back in those days? Yeah, I remember coming into that little small office in the old office building that was probably Class C space back in those days, and where we remained up until after Katrina flooded the first floor of that building. And there was one employee there. They'd been keeping the organization together for about 11 months. There had not been a director for the ACLU during that period of time. And I remember that we had about enough money in the bank for a couple of months of operation is all we had. So we were living pretty much hand to mouth at that time. We had about 1,000 members across the state of Louisiana, and it was difficult. It was a rebuilding operation that we had to go through. So that being the case, there were two of us then for a number of years, and then we had the third position. I guess about 5 or 6, 7 years later. After that, we had and then finally in 2005, we added a staff attorney, a fourth person to our staff. First time we had a full-time staff attorney, and I don't know, it must be about 15 years or so since the affiliate had a full-time staff attorney. So we've come a long way and made a lot of progress over this period of time, and I feel good about that. We still have a lot of battles to fight, but I feel good that I've left the organization in good shape.
Well, you haven't left it yet, Joe.
Well, that's right, I haven't.
And we'll
be leaving it in good shape.
Oh, I understand. Well, now, much of what you do does not eventually wind up as a court case, as a lawsuit. Right. People come to you when they think their rights have been violated, and then you do what you can, short of going to court, or you go to court if you have to. What are some of the cases over this time period that you've been in Louisiana that were of particular importance? Well,
I think go back to, I guess it was, I remember the first one, a case that had already been filed when I came, was an interesting case, was the Voodoo and Hoodoo case, a book over in St. Tammany Parish had been banned in 1992, and again it was by these religious fundamentalists who objected to the content of the book. And it was interesting that the book disappeared out of the library. One of the students of a parent who was a member of the Christian Coalition, and it took the book without checking it out. They took it home and showed it to her mother, who then complained to the school board about the book being on the shelf, even though it had not been properly checked out by the student, and objected to the content because it had some religious practices of the voodoo religion and some supernatural exercises in there of casting spells on people that you didn't necessarily like. And that case was one of the more interesting cases that I was involved in. It came up after I carried it on and followed it through, and we were successful in getting it back finally on the shelf.
In other words, this parent wanted it removed from the school.
It didn't follow the proper process. There's a process that if you want to remove or have to have a book removed from the public school library, that you have to go through. There's a Supreme Court case on that called PICO, and you have to file a complaint, and you cite the passage and why you think it's objectionable, why it's inappropriate for children of that age group or in general for it to be on the shelf, and it has to go through that procedure in order to
Were there other cases where people were able to get books removed from a school's library?
And as far as the ones who have come to us, we've been able to stop that from happening, because usually when they come to us, because they didn't follow the proper procedure. There was another case in Monroe with the Washita Parish School Board there, where there was a librarian. In both cases, both of these librarians complained to us on the basis of intellectual freedom as to why the books were going to be removed or were removed from the shelf. In that case, the principal in Monroe wanted all the books removed that had anything to do with gays or lesbians or was some way offensive to religion or Christianity. And so the librarian came to us because she was removing the books that had anything to do with gays and so forth. And one of the books that she was going to remove was the Bible. And of course, when she wanted to remove the Bible, the principal objected vehemently about that, and she ordered her to leave those books on. She came to us because he was removing books from content-based case because of his religious beliefs, fundamentally religious beliefs. So I would say the religious cases have been some of the most interesting that I've had to deal with. The Tangipahoa Parish School Board being another offender that started in 1994, shortly after I got here. The first case that we did was the creationism case out there with the disclaimer, the creationism disclaimer that the school board wanted put in, essentially saying that it was questioning evolution, the scientific theory of evolution, saying that there were other alternative theories, and one of them being the Bible story of creation, that students should consider that as an alternative to evolution. That went all the way to a petition to the Supreme Court, and we won that case as well.
I'm reading some material that I received from your office, and it says over 10,000 people from across the state have sent in complaints during your tenure. And it says individuals have written about the issues of religious liberty, free speech, racial profiling, and police abuse, women's rights, gay rights, prisoners' rights, students' rights, voting rights, and the death penalty, among others. Mm-hmm. So in that group of rights that you found it necessary to take the position on, were there some other outstanding instances?
Well, I was thinking back over that. I think in the post-Katrina environment, one of the issues that have really arisen here locally and across the state, of course, has been the racial profiling and the racial discrimination that's arisen, that's been especially troublesome. We had a Sheriff Strain over in St. Tammany Parish who was profiling, saying he was going to stop and question anybody on the street who had a chiwi hairstyle, which is sometimes worn by African Americans.